We listened, sir, to a presentation that would ordinarily, I think to most people, appear on the surface to be very convincing. Because we heard the leader of the opposition espouse his concern for the ordinary Guyanese citizen, the poor people of Guyana. He presented himself, sir, as a moral authority, as a champion of the vulnerable in Guyana. And if you looked at that presentation on the surface, if you were an outsider, or maybe even a Martian, an outsider to our planet, unfamiliar with what has been going on our planet, and even in our country, I can understand why you might be mesmerized. You might be convinced. Maybe not mesmerized. The reading did get a little bit monotonous after a while. But I can understand why some may have been or could be convinced. But of course, Mr. Speaker, you can't have committed these offenses and not be a very sophisticated, even perhaps manipulative individual. You can't have committed these offenses. And, sir, I don't wish, like I said, to pronounce or express judgment or an opinion on this matter. I will defer to the courts of Guyana. But I want to share with the people of Guyana some extracts from an article carried by The Guardian, which is a highly respected, and this article is not about the leader of the opposition. It's not about the leader of the opposition of Guyana. I want to read this article from The Guardian. The article is headed up, well, it's dated 29th of April 2001, Sunday, I believe, 29th of April 2001. And it, like I said, was published by The Guardian. And it's a two-part article. And that two-part article is called Killing Pablo. Now, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the title, but I'm reading it as it is.
Which one of the Guardians? They got so many Guardian newspapers all over.
Well, it's theguardian.com, sir. It's online as theguardian.com.
Okay.
www.theguardian.com. But it's a story that has been widely documented all over the world. There are books and movies, there are academic papers, there are theses that have been written, theses and dissertations that have been written on this very case. Mr. Speaker, I don't want anybody to nod off, so I don't want to ask anybody to close their eyes as they listen to this story. But I see the Honorable Minister Manichan has her eyes wide open behind her sunglasses. And I'm not going to suggest that anybody closes their eyes, sir, because this is a matter that is so grave that every single citizen of Guyana
should hear it,
needs to listen to this story and needs to keep their eyes very, very wide open. Sir, this is what, and like I said, there's a reason why I said I don't want you to close your eyes. You may close your eyes and you may imagine that it is not an individual called Pablo that the story is about. And you may substitute for the name Pablo any name that you believe might fit the story.
I'm going to school today. Try not. Let's go. What appropriate answer?
I'm not suggesting any name, sir. Mr. Speaker, in the preface, the prefatory paragraph to the article, the author, Mark Bowden, who incidentally wrote a book on this matter, says, and I quote, Colombian drug baron, playboy, and politician, Pablo Escobar started out as a car thief and became the world's 7th richest man. In the first of 2 extracts from his new book, Mark Bowden explains how the school teacher's son, the son of an innocent school teacher, would let nothing stand in his way, not even the might of the United States government. The teacher's son is Pablo in this story. Sir, the article reads as follows, and I quote again. As his fortune grew and his fame spread, Pablo began tending his public image, conscientiously denying any official connection to his illicit enterprises and working hard to appear likable, although his reputation terrified, even hardened Medellin criminals. Employing leftist rhetoric when it suited his needs, Pablo played upon popular resentment of the established powers in Bogota and the historically hard feelings towards the United States. It goes on, it gets very interesting, sir. It says, surrounded by bodyguards and worshipful associates, he had begun to see himself differently. It wasn't enough anymore to have succeeded on the streets of Medellin or to dominate the international drug trade. Somewhere along the way, Pablo had begun to see himself as a great man. The story goes on. Politics was the next logical step. In 1978, he was elected as a substitute city council member in Medellin. He helped underwrite the presidential campaign of President Betancourt that year, loaning the campaign planes and helicopters, and also contributed liberally to the campaign of Betancourt's rival, Julio Turbay. So, underwriting the campaign, loaning planes, and contributing liberally to the rival as well.
We heard that tonight in the House?
I don't know if this sounds familiar.
Somebody said they supported both sides and as a businessman. Oh, yeah. We heard that tonight.
Mr. Speaker, the story goes on. 2 years later, Pablo backed the formation of a new national political movement.
Another movement.
A word, sir, that we heard used with pride right in this honorable house.
Wake up, guys.
2 years later, Pablo backed the formation of a new national political movement, etc., etc. In 1982, he ran for Congress himself.
I read this book. I witnessed it.
Mr. Speaker, the story goes on. It said, so Pablo became a congressman. He became a congressman. It was just a substitute position. It was just a substitute position. I'm not going to use the word shadow position or position on the other side or whatever you want to call it. I'm quoting faithfully from the article. It was just a substitute position, but the victory seemed precisely the validation he had sought. Mr. Speaker, given the Colombian Constitution, the post conferred automatic judicial immunity. So Pablo could no longer be prosecuted for crimes under Colombian law. That's, of course, Colombian law, not Guyanese law. He was entitled to a diplomatic visa, which he began using that year to take trips with his family to the United States. He posed in front of the White House with his young son.
This is his normal story here now, man.
And began enjoying for the first time the mansions he had purchased for himself in Miami. Full stop. Pablo had arrived. Full stop. He told his friends that he intended someday soon to be the president of Colombia.
And people probably used to call him president.
The boss.
Actually, it's interesting that you should say that. Because he founded, the story continues, he founded his own newspaper, Medellin Civico. Of course, that predated social media and social media pages. So in those days, he founded his own newspaper, Medellin Civico, which produced occasional fawning profiles of its benefactor. Yes, I remember him, one Escobar admirer said in its pages, his hands almost priest-like, drawing parabolas of friendship and generosity in the air. The hands drawing parabolas of friendship and generosity in the air. Yes, I know him. His eyes weeping because there is not enough bread for all of the nation's dinner tables. I have watched his tortured feelings when he sees street children, angels without toys, without a present, without a fortune. Pablo sponsored art exhibitions to raise money for charity. He founded Medellin Without Slums, an organization that sought to continue his housing programs for the poor.
Somebody's been studying somebody here.
He took walking tours of city slums with 2 local priests whose friendship implied the blessings of the church.
Oh, quarantine pastors. Philippi.
At this time, he went to great lengths to erase evidence of his more sordid criminal past while still flaunting it in private. And he undertook an aggressive campaign to be seen as a benevolent, law-abiding citizen. He hired publicists and paid off journalists.
Sound familiar?
I'm reading, Mr. Speaker. I'm reading, sir, from this article. Mr. Speaker, with his election, Pablo became a popular public figure. To an increasingly admiring Bogota press, he became Colombia's own Robin Hood. In April 1983, the magazine Semana profiled him warmly, noting only that the sources of his wealth never ceased to be the object of speculation. Waving his diamond and gold Rolex, admitting to his ownership of a fleet of planes and helicopters and vast real estate holdings worldwide. In the article, Pablo traced the origin of his estimated $5 billion US fortune to a bicycle rental business, which he said he had started in Medellin when he was 16 years old. He went on to say, in quotes, "I dedicated some years to the lottery. Then I got into the business of buying and selling cars. And finally, I ended up in property." End of quote. Mr. Speaker, he and other narco kingpins were, at least for this brief period, popular heroes, the embodiment of cool, as glamorous as they were dangerous in pop culture portrayals, such as the TV program Miami Vice. In real life, Pablo played his role with panache. Mr. Speaker, with panache. Mr. Speaker, Honorable James Bond is smiling with what I believe is familiar recognition. Pablo played his role with panache. Mr. Speaker, by 1984, he was untouchable in Medellin. He moved openly around the city, attending bullfights and nightclubs, throwing parties at his estates, all the while officially a fugitive. Popular and powerful, he had clearly bought off the police and courts there, and anyone who considered standing up against him was marked for assassination. Mr. Speaker, and the story goes on. And it gets more and more gruesome. Mr. Speaker, further down the article, Pablo was usually tipped off well in advance of any effort to arrest him. And he had homes scattered throughout the mountainous Medellin area. And Mr. Speaker, the story continues and tells the gruesome tale, sir, of how this behavior continued and continued until, sir, I can't even bring myself to read all of this article, how gruesome it gets. But I'm seeing some parts here, I think, that need to be mentioned. Mr. Speaker, it says that he had bombed or bribed just about every official in Colombia. But it was so clear that no one in Bogota was going to cut a deal that would jeopardize all important ties with the United States government. So what do you think Pablo then decided to do? Pablo then began trying to work some influence in Washington. He had tried to retain a lobbying firm managed by Henry Kissinger in an effort to influence the Reagan administration. And he retained a lawyer who worked in the same firm as Jeb Bush, son of the president-elect, hoping to eventually persuade the younger Bush to approach his father. Both efforts failed. Mr. Speaker, and this This is why I said it became gruesome. No, the Honorable Attorney General is right. There are some gory and gruesome. Mr. Speaker, there are some gruesome and gory details to this story that I am terrified to read. I don't even want to read them. There are some gory and gruesome details to this story. Bomb the plane, carrying civilians. A commercial flight. Bomb the plane, bombed an Avianca commercial flight. Bombed the plane. Bombed a commercial Avianca flight. Gruesome, Mr. Speaker. Killing 110 people on the plane. Mr. Speaker, it was an act of audacious cruelty. And Mr. Speaker, it is these atrocities that would prove ultimately to be fatal mistakes. They made Pablo enemies who were far more powerful than any he had faced before. Downing a commercial airliner was an attack on global civilization. It meant that Pablo now posed a direct threat to American citizens. And it goes on. Mr. Speaker, this is a terrifying story. It's a terrifying story. And it is not my want, sir, to superimpose any parallels, direct or indirect, obvious or obscure, to this story. But I ask all Guyanese people, through you, sir, while keeping your eyes wide open, to close your eyes and ask yourself if this story sounds familiar, if it rings a bell.